I'm Judy Alleruzzo, and I'm the Perennial and Houseplant Buyer for Al's Garden Home. Well, today we're going to talk about planting spring blooming bulbs in the fall. So you have to plant them now through like the early November because they actually need chill time. They need the cold of our winters to get them ready to bloom in the spring. What's really cool about bulbs is that the new flower, the roots, and the stems and foliage are all in the bulb, ready to bloom this next coming spring. So, you know, spring blooming bulbs come in many different kinds. This is a tulip, but there's all different ones. There's hyacinths and daffodils of many different colors and sizes, snowdrops that sometimes come out even in like January, February, and all different kind of tulips and crocus. All different colors. So really you can have bulbs that are going to be blooming from say late winter into almost early May. So really an assortment of colors that you could have. And you can even plant them in the ground or in a container. And when you plant them in a container, it's something called bulb lasagna, which we love that name. So we're going to show you how to do that. So I have this container here, and so I put soil in, and of course we used Al's soil, potting soil. You always want to use potting soil and make sure that you have a drainage. And so on the package of bulbs, you're going to have all the information that you need. On the bottom of the front is going to show you when it blooms and how tall it gets, and then the time of year that it blooms. And on the back, it has all the planting information. It tells you the depth that you plant them. It tells you all the care instructions, everything that you're going to need to know. So in general, the planting depth is about 2.5 times the width of the bulb. So this bulb is about 2 inches. So we're going to plant it about 5 inches down in this pot. You can do them in the ground too, and I have two great tools for you. This is a bulb planter, and so it actually kind of goes down and you twist it and you bring out just a right amount of soil to plant that bulb down. And then this trowel has inches on it, so you know how far down to go. So some easy tools for you when you're planting in the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant these tulips, and this is a red tulip. And so you want to make sure that you space them, because if they're too close together, just in case one rots, it won't rot all of the other bulbs. Plus it's better spacing when they come up next spring. And so I've already put in the bulb fertilizer. So this is really good to do at time of planting, and then you do it again in the springtime. Just read the directions and put a note in your calendar. So now I'm going to put some more soil covering those tulips, and now I'm going to put another lasagna layer of crocus. Now crocus are a smaller bulb and they're a smaller plant, and you can kind of see there's a little point there and there's a flat part there, so you know the flat part goes down. Same thing with those tulips, the flat point goes down and the little nose goes up. And again, I'm going to kind of space these out. And because these are smaller bulbs, they're going to be up closer to the top. So all of the crocus are now planted, and so I'm going to put some more soil in. All right. And even though we have those 2 layers of bulbs, they bloom at different times. So again, they'll figure their way up through the soil. And now, because this is going to be on my deck, I don't want to look at just a pot of dirt. That's the whole year. So I'm going to plant all of these plants. We want a thriller, so I have this cordyline here. And you know, the bulbs too will figure out a way to come through all of that root system. So we have a cordyline, I have an ornamental cabbage, and then I have a heucherella here that's going to kind of trail off the side and add some winter color. And then for a different texture, it kind of echoes the texture of the cordyline. I have this carex grass. I'm going to put him back here, and I'm going to put a couple of pansies in. Pansies are really, really tough. They are really going to bloom all season. I've seen pansies with ice on them, and the next day they're perfect, or even that day they're just perfect. And because I'm planting this, I'm going to see it all the way around. I'm going to put a pansy back there, and then I have a little spiller here. This is a vinca, and this is evergreen. And I'm going to put that back here. And then another pansy to finish it off. And put that. And then don't forget that you have to fill in all of this soil in between. Make sure that there's no air pockets. If it does get so cold, sometimes in January, February, we get really, really cold, you might want to pull this in closer to the house. If you're just planting bulbs with nothing on top here, say you just want to plant them and then put them in the garden, and then take them out when that foliage is kind of dying down, make sure that you put an insulation of leaves around it, and so that it's nice and secure, and it's really good insulation for the winter time. Going to enjoy this all winter long. In the spring, the crocus are going to come up, and they're going to just be maybe 4 or 5 inches, and then those beautiful tulips will come up, and that's going to be a little bit later in the season. But then you have to let that foliage die back. I know it looks kind of bad, but you can always put more perennials or annuals in front in the garden, or if it's in a pot, you can kind of put it back by your compost pile. You have to let those that foliage die down, because it's going to nourish those bulbs, re-energize those bulbs to the next year. So really there's just a little bit of tips to go on for planting spring bulbs in the fall.